If you're new to entrepreneurship and you are the sole income earner in your house, especially if you have kids, I feel your pain. It is stressful. It feels like a lot of pressure. I know that feeling. I found 3 things that have helped reduce the pressure to a degree and helped me transition from corporate, where I had a steady paycheck, to entrepreneurship, which is volatile by nature. I'm going to share what those are. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former executive turned nomad entrepreneur, and I am the sole income earner for my household. I have a wife, I have 2 kids, I have 3 dogs, and if money dries up in my business or on my paychecks, money dries up for the entire house, which feels like a ton of pressure. That's the financial pressure. Now, the reality is there's also a ton of emotional pressure. If you are a provider for your household, you take that responsibility seriously. I already know you do. And that means you internalize a lot of the pressure and a lot of the anxiety that comes when there are financial insecurities or financial roller coasters. I know it firsthand. And I know the feeling of not wanting to let people down, of thinking about the futures of my kids and the savings accounts that we have to be building up and the retirement that I have to be saving for and all of the other things that are going on. So I get it. I found 3 things that have helped me in these 5 years of transitioning from steady, good, solid, predictable paycheck to entrepreneurship, which is oftentimes anything but any of the stuff that I just said. First thing is, I put myself on payroll. The first paycheck that I gave myself was comically low. I had to rewind the clock probably 15 years of my career to actually have had a paycheck like that in the past. But I picked an amount that I knew was going to be achievable for me very consistently, and then I ratcheted that up over time. In doing that, did a couple of things. The first thing it did was detach me and my emotions from the revenue that was coming in the door. I knew my paycheck was X, and if revenue was going to go up and down, that was okay, right? Because my paycheck was going to be consistent. The other thing that it did was it allowed me to get serious about budgeting in my business and budgeting in my household. If you don't have some degree of consistency, if month to month your paycheck is always changing, that is only going to exacerbate the pressures and the frustrations and the fears and the anxiety that you have in entrepreneurship. Let's face it, there are enough of those things without having to add to that stack. Go talk to an accountant, all the financial disclosures, like all of that shit. Like, I'm not a tax specialist, but I do know it's also opened up some opportunities for me with like a solo 401k and other things. But talk to a financial advisor about that. The main benefit of the paycheck, detaching yourself from the revenue, allowing some degree of volatility and flexibility with that, and giving yourself the opportunity to actually start budgeting both in your business and at home. Second thing that I did, built up a reserve of 6 months in cash in the business, right? Now, this was huge. This was really, really important because short-term thinking kills businesses. Short-term thinking is the type of stuff that leads to hair on fire, reactive cultures where you're only thinking about what's around the corner and you're not taking a long-term methodical look at where you're driving the business. You're just constantly reacting to fire drills. When I built up a reserve of 6 months in my business, what it allowed me to do is be much more strategic about my pricing, much more strategic about the clients that I was taking, much more strategic about my brand, much more strategic about the offers and the products that I was going to create. I could start to innovate things that might take longer to materialize into net income and money back to me, but had a much more aggressive J curve long term. So I could start thinking about things that were 1 year, 2 years down the road instead of 1 or 2 months down the road. And I can't tell you how different of a business you are going to have if you know, I've got money in the bank. This is okay. I don't have to make decisions based on a 4 to 8 week time horizon. I can start to actually think about 4 to 8 month or more time horizon. Third thing that I did, and still do to this day, is keep an open line of communication with my wife. I'm not here to give you marital advice necessarily, but I am here to tell you that as a sole income earner, one of the pressures that we create is feeling like we have to bear the burden of everything ourselves. And listen, there is a lot of responsibility that is riding on me, that is riding on you to deliver, to do your job, to get results, and to take care of other people. But the thing is, as much as my wife loves surprises, when it comes to things like flowers, when it comes to things like gifts, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume she's not going to be a big fan of being surprised with, hey, honey, sorry, I can't pay myself this month, or I can't pay us, for the next 3 months or something like that. What I do is just keep an open line of communication. When there are big wins in the business, she's the first person to know. When there are concerns in the business, If I think that there are going to be implications, have any chance of implications, I tell her, like, hey, this is what's happening. There have been times over the past 5 years where I've realized, hey, there's a seasonal change that I was completely unaware of with offers and services like that. I tell her as soon as like, hey, sales are down a little bit. And she says, okay. But now I've shared it. Like I'm not holding all of that, which for me personally relieves a lot of the pressure. And I've been honest about it. I've been candid about it. Now, thankfully, none of the concerns that I've ever had have never really materialized into anything substantive or important for us. Getting ahead of it, being direct, being candid, being honest, and being transparent, like sharing this with somebody else, man, it is huge. It is just really, really important, and it'll help you. And at least for me, it's helped the dynamics of our relationship. So there you have it. The 3 things that I have found to help put myself on payroll, build up a cash reserve of 6 months, keeping the lines of communications open with my wife so that there aren't any surprises has been really helpful for me as an entrepreneur with navigating the uncertainty that comes with giving up the steady paycheck and moving to something where I have a lot more flexibility. I have a lot more autonomy. I have a lot more opportunity to earn as much as I want, but I also have the risk that comes with that. So if you are the sole income earner in your own house, especially if you have kids, I salute you. I respect you. I know what you're going through. I know the pressure. I know the anxiety, and I know the fear that can sometimes come up. I hope this has been helpful to you in some way in reducing some of that pressure, or at least handling it. If it has, subscribe to the channel for more business tips. Adios.